We now join our regularly scheduled program, already in progress.
A message about heartburn from the American College of Gastroenterology.
If you have heartburn more than twice a week, it may not be simple heartburn. You may have a more serious condition called reflux disease or GERD. My advice? If you have frequent heartburn or still have symptoms on your over-the-counter or prescription medicine, see your doctor or gastrointestinal specialist. They can help you live pain-free.
To learn more about heartburn and GERD, call 1-800-HRT-BURN.
I lost 5 pounds in 5 days. 5 pounds that I've wanted to lose for probably a year and a half.
Introducing Jumpstart, the breakthrough 5-day diet plan from Slim Fast.
I've tried every kind of fasting, starving, juicing.
Nutritious high-protein shakes along with fruits and vegetables make Jumpstart the healthy, delicious way to lose weight.
Just drink the shakes, follow the plan, 5 days, the weight is gone.
Jumpstart, lose 5 pounds in 5 days.
It's simple, straightforward, boom.
As the world prepares to say a final goodbye to Princess Diana, we'll talk with her former astrologer. How did Princess Diana feel about life and the future? The death of a princess. Join Jane Robelo live from London and Jose Diaz-Balart in Paris for complete coverage, coming up on This Morning. Teens reveal their most intimate secrets, and what you hear may surprise you.
How old were you the first time you had sex?
Too Soon for Sex, sponsored by AT&T, Thursday. The truth about the huge media conglomerates that buy the paparazzi's pictures tonight.
On Wall Street, fall came in like a lion, or maybe more like a raging bull. The Dow Jones Industrial Average scored its biggest one-day point gain in history yesterday, up more than 257 points on a report that the economy seems to be slowing down and that inflation is not as big a threat as believed just last month. The Dow opens later this morning at 78.78. The gain wipes out most of what the Dow lost last week. Most other market indicators were up significantly as well, including the NASDAQ, which gained more than 30 points.
While we're talking business, another change in strategy from Apple Computer. It's now taking steps to eat up its clones. Yesterday, Apple announced plans to buy part of Power Computing, the largest maker of Macintosh clones. It's a $100 million deal that will see Power Computing stop making Mac-like machines by the end of this year. Apple has received quite a bit of attention this summer as it tries to fight chronic financial losses and declining market share. It replanted co-founder Steve Jobs and announced an alliance with arch-enemy Microsoft. So, what's cooking? We will take a closer look at Apple's recipe for the future in this morning's Wired on Up to the Minute. Wired News business editor Caitlin Quistgaard joins us from CBS station KPIX in San Francisco. Caitlin, good morning. Welcome to Up to the Minute.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, doing pretty good, thanks. Apple was buying what they termed the key assets of Power Computing. Go ahead and define the deal for us.
Well, basically, in exchange for about $100 million, or exactly $100 million worth of its stock, Apple is buying back the license that it had granted to Power Computing to equip its machines with the Macintosh operating system. As part of the deal, it also is getting a customer database of Power's 200,000 or so customers, and it also has the right to retain some of Power's key employees, assuming that they will agree to go to Apple. That would be some engineers, most of whom came from Apple originally and developed the Power Macintosh at Apple, and also some key direct sales people, because Power has a great direct sales operation in place, something that Apple is looking to get into.
So Apple has a definite win-win situation here. They get back their rights to the cloning and they get the ability to direct market.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, they're the top Mac clone maker, so we're told. Is Apple trying to shut down the clone market now?
Well, it would seem that they are. Several executives at Apple today talked about the clone market as being something that has taken away from Apple and not fulfilled its promise of expanding the Macintosh market. Over the last couple of months, licensing negotiations have stalled pretty much ever since Apple ousted its former CEO, Gil Amelio, and brought Steve Jobs back in. The clone licensing agreements have come to a standstill, and while Apple says that from this point forward it will honor its current negotiation or current licensing with clone makers, it says it's not interested in pursuing further negotiations for future technologies.
Caitlin, people who, as we know, like Apple, are very loyal to Apple, but they have to be confused. The company's gone from not allowing cloning to allowing cloning. Now they're back to not allowing cloning. It's got to be a little bit confusing for folks. Are they going to stick with this one?
Well, I think that's anybody's guess. I think it's actually quite significant that they made this decision with no CEO at the helm. Steve Jobs is back acting as CEO, although he's just a board member for now. When someone new is brought on board, it will be interesting to see if they stick by this plan. It was the former CEO, Gil Amelio, who was rather gung-ho about cloning and set up the licensing arrangements that were to carry forth into the future. Speaking with other clone makers on Tuesday, including UMax, another Apple clone maker, they seem quite confident that, in fact, they will find a way to carry on.
Quickly, what's Power Computing going to do now once they lose the ability to clone Mac?
Well, it looks like Power is going to carry on with its plan, which has been in place for quite a while, to get into the Windows Intel clone market. They're due to release their first line of products in the next few days, but whether they can actually make a go of it in a market that's already fairly saturated with computer makers is hard to say.
Okay, we will keep watching. Caitlin Quiscar, we certainly thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Sharing your insights. Well, for more Wired news, you can visit Wired on the web. The address is www.wired.com. And you can visit Up to the Minute as well. Our address, as always, uttm.com.
Some of the highest paying jobs in the world right now are being done by college dropouts, or people who never even went to college. But does that mean there's no longer any economic value to a college degree? In today's high-tech economy, some wonder. CBS News correspondent Thalia Shuris reports.
How many of these did we order? I'm just curious.
Alex Zoglin is considered one of the most influential people on the net. His Chicago-based website design firm, Neoglyphics, is worth millions.
We have the most work we've ever had in the history of our company right now.
Zoglin is 28 years old and a college dropout.
Now, one CEO of a Fortune 10 company has asked me if I have a college degree.
Zoglin even started a branch office on his former campus. His recruits, students who have given up college in favor of practical experience.
It is a lot like being a basketball star. You have a set window in which you can get, you can maximize the value which your knowledge is today. The question is, like a basketball star, do you take advantage of that now, or do you finish school?
Among those without degrees, history offers some famous role models. President Harry Truman. And today, there's Microsoft billionaire Bill Gates.
But not every college dropout makes millions. Quite the opposite. A study done here at the University of Illinois shows that its graduates over a lifetime make 2 times more than those who finish high school only.
If any of you are engineering majors, you will get to know and love this building.
As students filter back onto the nation's campuses, many Americans are banking on just that, a degree of future financial comfort.
It opens up the world for him. There's a lot more opportunity out there, a lot more to choose from if he gets a good education.
Without a college degree, I would see myself in the small town where I grew up in Louisiana, probably working a mediocre job.
That's pretty much where Kathy Simane, an executive assistant with a major retailer, finds herself. At 27, with only a high school education, she says she's hit a salary cap, roughly $35,000 a year.
There's really nowhere else for me to go unless I get a degree in some other type of field to move on anywhere else.
So Simane has moved on to college, part-time.
Okay, class, it's that magic moment, and a very happy good evening to you.
Dreaming of a degree in psychology.
It's a career. It's finally a career for the rest of my life.
Even dropout Alex Zoglin expects to get a degree someday. And ironically, he also expects those he hires to have one.
They better have a damn good track record to overcome the lack of a college degree.
So a college degree doesn't guarantee anything. But the consensus from the boardroom to the street seems to be that it can help design a better future. Thalia Shuris, CBS News, Chicago.
If you so choose, pageants are another way to jumpstart your career. And with the Miss America pageant 10 days away, 51 contestants arrived in Atlantic City yesterday and posed for pictures on the boardwalk. This is a year of change for the pageant. Contestants had the option of wearing a 2-piece swimsuit for the first time. The District of Columbia is participating for the first time since 1989. Pageant officials are also betting that Miss America's girl-next-door image will not be tarnished by casino gambling.
Contestants 21 and over will be allowed to enter and even gamble in the Atlantic City casinos. The rules still say no dice to smoking in public or drinking alcohol. Stay with us. You're watching CBS News Up to the Minute.
My arthritis pain kept waking me up, so I called my doctor. He recommended capsaicin, the ingredient in capsaicin P. It's the topical analgesic ingredient doctors recommend most for arthritis pain. I don't want to live with pain, and I don't have to. Capsaicin P.
My feet are killing me 8 hours a day. Nothing helps.
Introducing Gold Bond Medicated Foot Powder. 3 foot relievers in 1. Only Gold Bond absorbs moisture, controls odor with baking soda, and stops foot itch. New Gold Bond Medicated Foot Powder.
Finally something that really helps.
Well, if my check is $100, I get back 20. If my check is $300, I get back 60. If it's $600, I get back $120.
Introducing a special invitation from Dining a la Carte. A 2-month trial membership for free.
We have dinner, just like always, add on my tip and everything else, and hand in my Visa card. At the end of the month, we see a check. It says whatever restaurant and Tarantino's, and we've got our 20% back off from the bill.
Dining a la Carte works with your credit cards. There are no embarrassing coupons and never any restaurant blackout periods.
I love the amount of money that I've saved with dining a la carte. I've saved well over $1,000. I've recommended it to friends because it has worked so well for me. I like especially the part that no one knows that you're using it.
Just dine at participating restaurants. In about 30 days, you'll receive a statement listing the restaurants you dined at with a rebate check that equals 20% of your total restaurant charges, including tax and tips.
One thing that I liked about the program was just that it's so easy. I mean, you use your card like you would if you had nothing going on, no coupons or anything, and you get a check in the mail, you know, a couple weeks later. It's just so simple. It's the way to go.
As an attorney, I'm frequently in a position of entertaining clients, and using Dining a la Carte permits me to do so more often and gives me a great selection of restaurants to choose from.
Dining a la carte is a good thing for people who like to go out for dinners and like to save money.
And here's your special invitation. Call right now for a free 2-month trial membership. Then dine at thousands of restaurants and get 20% rebate checks mailed to your home. So call the number on your screen now.
Dining a la carte is earning extra money.
Just for eating out.
Time for a check now of your up-to-the-minute weather forecast. The West Coast, dry, but more moisture flows into the Southwest, dumping showers through the Rockies and on into Canada. Sunshine for the Midwest and the Great Lakes, thunderstorms in Texas and across the Gulf Coast. Lingering rain in the Northeast. Now, much of the country will feel fall-like today. Highs in much of the plains, Northeast, and Ohio Valley. They won't get out of the 60s and the 70s. It's still summer in the South where highs reach the 90s, and in the West you'll find 80s, 90s, and yes, still some triple digits hanging on in the desert.
It's been nearly 2 weeks since Hudson Foods agreed to shut down its plant in Columbus, Nebraska, and recall 25 million pounds of hamburger. The U.S. Department of Agriculture is still investigating to find the source of E. coli contamination at the plant, and there's no indication of when inspectors will wrap up. The company is still paying its workers in Columbus and says they will be paid until the sale of the plant is complete, probably in the next few weeks. IBP, the nation's leading packer of fresh beef and pork, is buying the Hudson Foods plant. Trying to catch the source of a bacterial outbreak such as E. coli found in meat produced by Hudson Foods is like trying to catch a criminal. Health officials use DNA fingerprinting to find the source of potentially deadly outbreaks. Dr. Dave Nida reports.
Colorado receives food products from throughout the United States and the world. So how are investigators able to link 16 cases of E. coli poisoning to a Hudson beef plant in Columbus, Nebraska? Well, by using the same technology used to catch and convict criminals, genetic testing with DNA fingerprinting.
What we're doing is DNA fingerprinting on bacteria, not human beings.
The first piece of the puzzle was found in a lab at the Colorado State Health Department.
In the last couple of months, we became aware of an increased number of E. coli isolates submitted to us. At the same time, we've begun routine DNA fingerprinting of those isolates.
There are more than 200 strains of E. coli bacteria. Each has a genetic fingerprint that looks like a supermarket barcode. When several of the DNA fingerprints matched, health officials realized there was an outbreak. It was now time to become medical detectives and do old-fashioned legwork to find out what the victims had in common. They were questioned and re-questioned about possible links such as ground beef, vegetables, water, even swimming pools. Well, the next piece of the puzzle turned out to be beef.
There was a church picnic on the West Slope that involved a number of cases there.
That's where people ate hamburger patties from Hudson Beef. Some of those patties were still in one victim's freezer, and when analyzed were found to contain E. coli that had the same DNA fingerprint as the others.
Some cases, without the technology, in the past it's been pure luck.
25 million tons of Hudson beef was recalled and destroyed. Case closed. I'm Dr. Dave Nida for CBS News.
That's fascinating how you do that.
Yeah, it is. Gotta cook it carefully, you know.
Yeah. Hope you enjoyed the story as well. Stay with us. We'll be right back with more news.
You're watching Up to the Minute.
So, whose influence are you under?
Around here, the ground is hard. Around here, the goal's farther away. The dreams are still dreams. That's why Special Olympics is here, helping people with mental retardation become athletes, helping athletes become respected, accepted. And you can help too, as an athlete, a coach, a volunteer. Special Olympics is training for life, and that means a lot around here.
Don't let the magic pass you by. Don't lose the greatest moment.
Joan, look at this. Don't anybody move. I'll be right back.
I think you've finally done it.
All right, everybody. Smile.
Don't let life's magic moments pass you by. From the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
I know I'm not here expecting, but I am Michael Jordan, chairman of the board of the College Fund. By keeping tuition costs down, bright, deserving kids get a shot at going to college. Because let's face it, no matter how gifted you are,
we all could use a little help. Please support the College Fund. Your mind is a terrible thing to waste.
Want to go one-on-one?
You're back with CBS News Up to the Minute. Today is Wednesday, September 3rd.
And on this day in 1979, Hurricane David, having killed 1,200 people in the Caribbean, was poised to pummel the Florida coast. CBS News correspondent Bernard Goldberg weathered the storm in Miami Beach.
Hurricane David. It had been one of the deadliest storms of the century, and it had taken aim on the South Florida coast. During the night, David advanced on Miami, brandishing 100-mile-an-hour winds. Despite its 5-day rampage through the Caribbean, at the last minute, David turned fickle. It weakened, and it spared Miami a direct hit. The eye of the storm and its fiercest wind stayed offshore. By mid-morning, David was turning north, sideswiping the most densely populated portions of the Gold Coast. Damage was light in the Miami and Fort Lauderdale areas. Palm Beach to the north was harder hit. 85-mile-an-hour winds snapped off royal palms that had stood for years. Windows were smashed. Power lines were down in some areas from Miami northward, affecting 200,000 people. More than 35,000 residents of South Florida had been evacuated as the hurricane approached. Officials weren't taking any chances after the storm ravaged several Caribbean islands, leaving 150,000 homeless. By mid-morning, the all-clear was given in the Miami area. The evacuees, many of them elderly, began returning home. Meanwhile, as David diminishes over land today, another storm continues to move through the Caribbean, Hurricane Frederick, which is described as a very weak storm. But residents of hurricane country are more than familiar with the old saying that the only thing predictable about a hurricane is its unpredictability. Bernard Goldberg, CBS News, Miami Beach.
And when it was over, Hurricane David had killed 5 people in Florida.
On this day in 1976, Viking 2 landed on Mars. The spacecraft sent back the very first color photographs of the red planet's surface. It also provided, until this year, the most information about the planet since 1971, when Mariner 9 reported on the planet's geological formations.
And that is this day in history.
CBS News Up to the Minute continues now at the top of the hour.
You've heard about the paparazzi, but what about the huge conglomerates that buy their pictures? Also, Diana's charities. What's next for them? Tonight on the CBS Evening News. CBS News. CBS, welcome home.
Now on CBS News Up to the Minute, the paparazzi and the princess's death. Are they suspects or scapegoats?
And planning the funeral for the Queen of Hearts. Good morning from CBS News World Headquarters in New York. This is Up to the Minute. I'm Mika Brzezinski.
I'm Rick Jackson. Thanks for joining us this morning. French police now say the driver who died with Princess Diana and Dodi Al-Fayed was even more intoxicated than initially revealed. A second set of toxicological tests showed driver Henri Paul had a blood alcohol level nearly 4 times the French legal limit. From Paris, CBS News correspondent Jose Diaz-Balart joins us with the very latest on the investigation. Good morning.
Good morning, Rick. Yeah, indeed, that has been the very latest as far as the condition of the driver the night of the incident. The bottom line is whether he was 3 times over or 4 times over the legal limit of alcohol consumption, he was extremely incapacitated. And some of the witnesses are now saying that the Mercedes that he was driving before the accident was zigzagging on its own, even without the paparazzis following close behind. This is the very latest as far as the paparazzis. We understand now that it's 6 paparazzi photographers and 1 motorcycle driver, a driver who was taking one of the photographers behind him. All 7 have been released on their own recognizance, but the judicial process, the investigative part of the judicial process against all 7 of them continues. Also this morning in a French newspaper, one of the photographers, Jacques Langevin, wrote this article. In it, he explains that he was on standby. This is the photographer's story. He was on standby. He was having dinner with friends when he was called by Sigma, his press agency, and told that Princess Diana was at the Ritz Hotel. He went to the Ritz Hotel, according to him, and he awaited her exit. She got out of the hotel, was allowed to be photographed, according to him, and then Dodi Al-Fayed, her friend, came out also. He says when that was finished, he went and he headed back to his car, and from his car went back to the dinner he was having with friends. He says the odds were 1 out of 10, and he hit the odds. He drove in the same road in which the accident had occurred. He says he got out of the car, he put it outside the tunnel, he went in, he took photographs. There were already police and hospital officials already on the scene. He took about 4 pictures, and when he headed back towards his automobile, he was apprehended and sent to jail. He said it is something that he never expected. This is an award-winning photographer who, among other places, covered the Tiananmen Square massacres and was in the Gulf War. That is the only official statement, the only statement, indeed, that we have received from any of the 6 photographers. Also, speaking of photographers, the Francois newspaper today shows what apparently are the last pictures of Diana and Dodi with the 2 people that were in the automobile. This is as they were getting into the airplane in the south of France, heading over to Paris on that day. Here is Dodi Al-Fayed with Henri Paul, the driver who now has been shown was legally drunk. And this is Princess Diana with the bodyguard, the only survivor of the incident. Rick, back to you.
It's interesting, Jose, that there was this confiscation of film. Has that been released yet? Have police told us what was on the film taken from those now 6 photographers?
Yes, there was that is still being held because it's part of the investigation, it's part of the case. But we do understand that some of the photographers, according to witnesses that were actually in the tunnel, said that some of the photographers literally got on top of the car and ran into the windshield to take pictures. So I imagine that they are not only developing the pictures, but also seeing which photographer took which pictures. Part of the investigation, part of which we have not heard yet. Rick, back to you.
Jose, thanks for the update. We appreciate it.
In London, Buckingham Palace says Princess Diana's casket will ride on a gun carriage from St. James's Palace to Westminster Abbey. Millions are expected to line the streets to say goodbye. The palace has ruled out extending the route to accommodate the crowd, saying it would be too far for some of the children and members of Diana's favorite charities who will walk behind her coffin. Instead, they're now considering letting the crowds spill out onto the streets, and they've yet to decide whether singer Elton John will sing at Diana's funeral.
A lot of things still to be decided, according to newspaper reports as well. 15-year-old Prince William, the eldest son, of course, of Diana, may even walk behind his mother's coffin along the route to Westminster Abbey. They say William believes it is what his mother would have wanted. Now, at Westminster Abbey, preparations for Saturday's funeral are underway. Yesterday, workers, as you see outside the Abbey, preparing for the expected millions of people who are thought to be turning out to pay their last respects. Inside, 2,000 carefully selected people will attend the service, among them our First Lady, Hillary Rodham Clinton. After the funeral, the nation will observe 1 minute silence. Princess Diana's body will then travel by car to a chapel at her family's estate in Althorp, 60 miles north of London. There, in a private service, she will be laid to rest in the Spencer family's crypt.
In Britain, hundreds of thousands of people continue to wait in line for hours to sign memorial books. Many just plain folks stunned by her death and stunned by their own reaction about just how much they cared. As CBS News correspondent Dan Rather discovered, many have put their emotions in writing. They say it with flowers, and most often with an awesome, massive silence.
In places associated with the princess, there is a sea of flowers. Millions of bunches. People have thronged to the royal palaces with their tributes. Standing in line for hours. Coming here literally from all walks of life. And children. So many children. Sometimes dressed up for the occasion, trying to tell the princess, who was first a mother, how they felt about her.
I'm sorry you are dead, and I wish you could be alive again. Love from Jack.
From London, a child's reminder to us all that life isn't always fair, even for a princess who many thought was the fairest of them all.
It is sad, and certainly seeing the children come out really drives it home.
That hurts.
And stay with us. The news continues.
You're watching CBS News, up to the minute.
A mother's love lives on. And it says, because she was so dear to you, her memory will live on. Just as the fragrance of a flower still lingers when it's gone, the beauty that was hers alone in thought is with you still. And in the hearts that love her, she lives on and always will. Your mother will always be remembered. And I just thought that was really written for her.
Flamingo Casino's free weekend concerts and 99 cents a crab boil continue. This weekend, don't miss New Orleans favorites, the Tip Tops.
Come on, get up, get down, get
and Willie J. On Friday, September 5th at 6 and 9 p.m., it's the Tip Tops. And on Saturday, September 6th at 4 and 7 p.m., it's Willie J. on the Spanish Plaza at the Riverwalk. You don't want to miss concerts and 99 cents a crab boil this weekend at Flamingo Casino.
Buy, sell, or trade. Hunters and collectors, this show is for you. Probably the largest selection anywhere, so don't miss out. Sure shoot. I'll probably see you there.
He understood the power of words. And for 60 years, Hap Glotty passionately told us the power of competition. That's why now, every year, young writers compete with their words to win a college scholarship awarded in Hap Glotty's name. This year, St. Augustine's Elliott Dew takes that winning spirit to Xavier University. On Thursday, September 4th, you can help the next young writer kick off a college career. Just catch one of the hottest prep tickets to be hosted in the Louisiana Superdome. It'll be a heated doubleheader when St. James meets West St. John. Then Archbishop Shaw takes on John Curtis. Reserve your tickets now for the Hap Glotty Football Classic, a community project from Cox Communications and WWL-TV Channel 4.
It's about passion. We are going to get through this. It's about danger.
Police! I've been shot!
It's about desire, commitment, and trust. Now it's about to return. Relive the many shades of blue, the original series, the original blue, NYPD Blue.
Premiering Saturday, September 27th on Channel 4.
Just hours before her death, Princess Diana talked by telephone to a British journalist with whom she sometimes confided. In that conversation, the princess told him that she was very, very happy. But a few days before her death, the French newspaper Le Monde published an interview with Diana in which she called the British press ferocious. The Le Monde story is believed to have been Diana's last formal interview. With us this morning to talk about her impressions of Diana is Annick Cogent, senior reporter for Le Monde, who conducted that interview. Ms. Cogent joins us this morning from our bureau in Paris. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
Your interview was entitled The Princess with a Big Heart, and you brought along pictures for Diana to choose from. What did you talk about while she was looking over those pictures?
Well, she just described the picture because the idea was to talk about a picture which has been very famous and that she liked very much. So she chose among a couple of pictures I had brought to her, and she described the scene. You know, she stopped on this picture saying, "Oh, I do remember so well this picture. I remember this little boy." And so she talked about the circumstances of this visit to Lahore in Pakistan, where she was holding this little boy who was very ill. She said, "I knew he was going to die, so I asked the mother to take him in my arms." And so, starting from this picture, we began to talk about her work in the humanitarian field, and then about the press and her life.
Well, Diana did discuss how her public display of emotion was often frowned upon by the royal family and the British press, but she said she was just doing what came naturally to her. I have a quote here. She says, "That's why I annoy certain people, because I'm closer to people on the bottom than to people on the top, and the people on the top don't forgive me for it." Were you surprised to hear her speak so frankly about the royal family?
Yes, because, you know, as I was going to talk to her about her work, about her involvement in the humanitarian field, I wouldn't have dared maybe to talk about the royal family. It wasn't a deal between us, but, you know, I didn't want her to be uncomfortable. And suddenly she just said that spontaneously.